The sexual harassment allegations against Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein sparked an online movement in which women wrote Me Too on social media platforms, highlighting just how pervasive the issue of harassment is. It was inspired by actress Alyssa Milano's call to action, and celebrities from Reese Witherspoon to Olympian Michaela Maroney all shared their personal stories of their own experiences with sexual harassment. But what many people don't know about the Me Too movement is it was actually started over a decade ago by an activist, Tarana Burke. And Tarana joins us now to discuss her work. Tarana, thank you for joining us, first of all. You started this hashtag movement in 2006, and you focused on what you called empowerment through empathy. What do you mean by that?
So Me Too started not as a hashtag. It started as a campaign of an organization that I founded, Just Be Inc. And empowerment through empathy was the thing that I felt that helped me, which was that other survivors who empathized with my situation helped me to feel like I wasn't alone and gave me sort of entry into my healing journey.
At first, your work focused on women of color, and it's now expanded. Tell me about how it's changed.
Well, my focus in all the work that I do is for the most marginalized people. And so I worked with young women of color in the South. And then when we moved our work into we had a MySpace page, and women started coming forward and talking to us and saying, thank you for this, and we needed it. And we realized it had to expand to more than young people. And so we worked with young women, mostly Black and brown women, across, through our MySpace page, but also throughout the South, and then later in Philadelphia and New York.
We're hearing critics of this campaign say that if this had been an issue that was just pervasive in the Black community or for people of color, that this would not have gotten the traction that it did with the Hollywood celebrities. What do you make of that sentiment?
I mean, it's true. I think we've seen that before. We've seen it in other cases. I mean, like Leslie Jones was targeted online, on Twitter, and there was not a groundswell of support for her and across Hollywood. And so I think that's the case, not just in Hollywood, that people of color are usually the last to be supported around a variety of issues. So,
why?
Because of racism, because of oppression, because of the way the systems work in this country. The least of these are the least of these. And so we have to speak up ourselves, and we have to create movements ourselves, and we have to insert ourselves in larger movements.
Lupita Nyong'o came out yesterday on Thursday with an op-ed in the New York Times. What did you make of her story?
It's so sad, and it's so, just all of the stories are sad. But just in relation to what you were just saying, it's like this is evidence that this happens across the board. So we've had all of these other actresses that have come forward haven't been people of color. But it made it seem like it might be just white women, but it's not. It's these people who are predators prey on everybody.
You started this movement, Me Too. Alyssa Milano helped get this hashtag up and running.
Absolutely.
Are you in touch with her?
Yes. A lot of people, once the Me Too hashtag started gaining popularity, people who were familiar with my work, I started getting bombarded with messages and why don't I see your name attached to this? And so people were saying, Tarana Burke has a Me Too that she already does, and why isn't she being talked about? And so Alyssa reached out to me early, Tuesday, and said, I want to meet you. I think that your work is amazing. And we've been in contact. I was on Good Morning America the other day.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yes, and we've talked about collaborating to both, she says that she's very committed to making sure the goals of the work that I do are met and put forward.
One of the things I struggle with, we do these stories and it takes up a huge chunk of our airtime. Mm-hmm. Then it goes away.
Yep.
We don't hear about the issues anymore.
Yep.
How do you ensure that that doesn't happen with this?
I think that the moment that we are in and just in the world is made like that. It's hashtags are here and they're gone tomorrow.
Yeah, so
These
true.
issues are here and gone tomorrow. But I think I'm an organizer by training. And so these kind of moments are like small victories, and we ride the momentum, and then we get on the ground and we do the work. And so where I come in, I think, is that Alyssa and I are a perfect pairing, because she can elevate the story and carry it forward through media, through Hollywood, and keep the conversation going, and I can organize on the ground and talk to everyday people, the people who I connect with and work with, about how we keep elevating this conversation and what work has to happen.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I loved about your story, because you figured out a way to make it work and to reach out across the platform. But For these people who are disadvantaged, who don't have the Hollywood megaphone, how do you reach out to them? How do you get them the support? And how do you do that, as you mentioned, on a social media platform where it's all about hashtags and then you move on?
This is not a hashtag. This is a hashtags. Hashtags and social media are important, right? They're important for elevating the conversation, for getting the word out. But the work of it is that people, survivors like myself, who are in a position to elevate, to have our voices heard, or in a position to do work, because everybody who is a survivor can't insert themselves and start doing work. They're not ready. But for those of us who are ready, and there are many of us, we are the ones who carry the conversation on. We are the ones who touch other survivors, right? Me Too, the work that I was doing is really about survivors talking to each other. And so how we continue this after this moment is gone is that we continue those conversations and we start talking about, like, what does community healing look like? And I think survivors will be at the forefront of that.
You know, one of the wonderful things that has actually come out of the Trump administration has been that people, I know, hear me out here, people who care about issues, whether it's a travel ban or something grassroots related, if you want to see action, you've got to make it happen.
Absolutely.
And we've seen that repeatedly, weekend after weekend, from this platform. It's been incredible to watch. What's your message to people who want to get involved in an organization like Me Too or a travel ban or whatever it is? How do you organize from a grassroots level and turn that action plan into something tangible?
Well, there's nothing new under the sun, right? If people are in their communities trying to figure out, what do I do next, right? And people like to send donations and stuff, and that's great. I would never turn down donations. But I think one is look for the people around you who are doing this work. Because inevitably there's somebody else who has an organization or a campaign going that you can join. And if not, connect with people in other places. The wonderful thing about social media is that we can instantly connect with people in other places and find out what they're doing. People contact me like, how can I be active? And I say, well, we can talk and let me help you figure out some tools that you can use in your community. Whether it's people going into schools and talking about consent to children, or having circles of survivors who get together and talk about what healing looks like for them, or what policies have to change in their community and how they can do that. There are tons of ways to organize. And what we hope to do as a follow-up to this movement is put out that information through our website so people have resources for how to be active in their community.
And you said you're going to be putting out some webinars and things online to help women?
Absolutely. So the other thing is the hashtag has been beautiful to watch grow, but it's also been concerning about people who have suddenly disclosed this information and then don't have a container to process it in. So we want to do a series of webinars to help people talk about processing. Now that you have disclosed, what do you do now? We also want to talk about things like empathy and the role it plays in helping healing. And we want to talk about policy. So we want to do a series of webinars that's a follow-up with concrete information for people.
Tarana Burke, your story is incredible, and it's great to see a grassroots movement, how it has formed and taken off.
Thank you so much.
Tarana, thank you for joining us.